What do trusted leaders do? The LDC model breaks down the big idea of leading people into three primary areas. Every trusted leader needs to lead, develop, and care. This threefold core is the starting point of the LDC model. The rest describes how leaders lead, what it means to develop, and the essence of care. In this segment, we're going to take a closer look at develop and the three vital ways leaders develop those around them. Let's begin by looking at a leader's definition of develop. Develop is intentionally strengthening people's capacity to grow and contribute. What kind of capacity are we talking about? Leaders develop by intentionally stretching and strengthening the thinking, maturity, and skills of those they lead. Leaders who develop see more than a task. They also see an opportunity to develop. Trusted leaders regularly ask themselves, what am I doing to develop the potential of those I lead? The challenge. Learning to lead with a developed mindset is the paradigm shift that many leaders desperately need. Trusted leaders don't limit develop to events or conferences. They embrace and cultivate develop as a natural part of what they do on the job and on the go. Leaders who develop approach every venture with two questions in mind. What is the task and who can be developed? Operational aspects. So how exactly do leaders develop? They teach, model, and coach. To help us think about these three essential aspects of develop, let's learn to sail. Teach. To sail a boat, we need new information. Few people are born with an intuitive understanding of sailing. Sailing has its own vocabulary, equipment, and rules. We must be taught to sail. To teach sailing is imparting knowledge that prepares people for what they will encounter on the water. Leaders teach by imparting essential knowledge through instruction. To develop, people need understanding and perspectives that extend beyond their current experience. Effective teaching imparts new awareness and insight. Albert Einstein once said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Teaching that develops helps people to see beyond the horizon and equips them to sail into the next adventure. Model. Imagine you've just aced a classroom course on how to sail. Now you're ready to borrow your friend's 40-foot yacht and hit the open water, right? Probably not. The best way to activate your new sailing knowledge is to go sailing with a more experienced crew. The second aspect of the develop function is model. To develop effectively, leaders need to demonstrate the thinking, maturity, and skills they want to impart. Leaders model by setting the example and by allowing themselves to be observed. Jesus was a master modeler. He invited his disciples to see and experience his life. He taught them how to pray, and he prayed with them. They experienced and participated in his way of life. There was no gap between what he taught and who he was. This concept of life-to-life learning is sorely lacking in most leadership training today. What does most training consist of? Teaching. Assimilating huge quantities of information without the opportunity to see it in practice. This is because teaching is simply easier, but it is not more effective. Thinking, maturity, and skills are rarely learned through instruction alone. They must be modeled and experienced. Coach. The third operational aspect of develop is coach. Top performers, whether they are athletes, actors, or musicians, almost always have a coach. Leaders who coach empower people to put their learning into practice by observing and providing real-time feedback that supports improvement. Imagine trying to learn the complex knots used for sailing from a book or from watching someone else tie them. Without putting your own hands on the rope, there's little chance of learning them. Like knots, few of today's most needed competencies can be developed without hands-on experience and intentional coaching. Teach, model, and coach are all essential parts of leading with a developed mindset. What happens if leaders teach but never model or coach? Information overload without real change. What if leaders model and coach without teaching? Activity without crucial understanding. What if leaders teach and coach but never model? Lost credibility and poor application. Let's review. Leaders develop when they strengthen people's capacity to contribute. Leaders develop using teach, model, and coach to impart thinking, maturity, and skills to others. Teach, model, coach is easy enough to memorize, but remember, in practice, develop is usually the most under-practiced function of the trusted leader model. Take a moment to think about the arenas where you lead. How are you developing greater capacity to contribute? Are teach, model, and coach all present in your approach to developing people?